In this video, I'll show you how to make a beautiful professional website that can rank on Google and perform very well no matter what you're doing with it. Whether you're a business, a fundraiser, a personal portfolio, whatever you're making the website for, I'll show you a very easy way to make a website that not only looks very professional, but is also incredibly functional as well. So in this video, we'll be using Squarespace, which is one of my favorites to teach because beginners get it really quickly. It's very easy to do. And like I said, it really is a powerful engine that can run your websites. So throughout this video, I'll show you everything you need to know. And there is no technical aspect, so you don't need any coding. You don't need to know technical jargon like name servers and hosting. There's none of that. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And instead, you can just make the website. And I promise you, by the end of this video, if you follow along and actually understand everything I show you, you will have all of the tools you need to make your own professional website. So I'm really excited to show you this. I hope you're excited to get started. I highly recommend taking out a notepad and following along, taking notes as we go. So to get started, you could either click on the link in the description or type in santrelmedia.com/Squarespace. This is our affiliate link, and so at absolutely no cost to you, this will give us a small commission that will help us to fund this channel and keep videos like this one free and educational. So let's head over to my laptop. I'm going to start off santrelmedia.com/Squarespace, and that'll bring you to a page that looks something like this. So we're going to start off by going to get started on the top right. I'm going to make, let's just say, a personal portfolio, but we're going to add some other functionality in there. Maybe I want to accept meetings. Maybe whatever. Maybe I'm just like a freelancer in general. So I'm going to say, describe my site. I'm a personal portfolio. And you can always find up here, sometimes they have personal portfolio or personal and CV. That's probably similar, but I'm going to say personal portfolio, and I'm going to say next. Now, what services, what are the goals we're looking for? Keep in mind, none of this in the beginning really matters that much. So if you select something and you don't actually want it later, or if you do want something you didn't select, no problem. We can add everything later. This is really just helping us get a jump start. So I'm going to say for this, I don't really need to do any of these things. I'm not selling anything. We can have a contact form though. That would be nice. And I want to showcase my work, my expertise. And let's just say that's probably just about it for now. So I am going to actually market myself as well. We're going to say next. And now it's going to suggest two different options. We can build a custom template with Squarespace Blueprint. It's a little bit more work, but that could customize things a little bit more. Or we can choose a professionally designed website template. For this video, we're going to do the latter. That is a lot easier because you can scroll through and find a general look that makes the most sense for you. So right here, it has portfolio selected. The topic is portfolio or personal and CV, and we can scroll down and see what these options are. So they give us just a couple options, a handful of options at first, but we can always filter in different categories as well. So for example, if none of these really look like a website that would make sense for you, feel free to try local business or art and design or any of the other ones, and they'll all work. You can customize them all exactly the same way. So this is just giving us a nice head start. Let's go down and see which one makes the most sense for my personal freelancing website. And once you find one you think you like, so maybe this one right here, I can preview it, of course, and see what the website actually looks like. We can also view the entire demo website. And so I can interact with it. I can see what my website would potentially look like. And I think this one is giving us a pretty good head start here. So let's go back and say start with this design. And now we can create an account. So let's choose a name for our website. So let's just say Mike O'Brien Website Designs. Pretty straightforward. Maybe I'm a freelancer and I make websites. And we can kind of close out of this. We don't need the rest of that. And now that brings us to this interface here. We're going to spend a lot of time here. Let's close out of that thing on the right. And starting off, I want to kind of give you a layout of the land here. On the right side, this is our website. It is interactive right now, and you can see what everything looks like over there. On the left side, we have these different tabs that we're going to go through throughout this video, and they're kind of the main categories. Most of the chapters of this video are going to be based on that, and they're just main ways you'd want to interact with your website. Designing the website, working on selling products, marketing the website, managing analytics, other services like scheduling, and other things like that. So that's pretty much what you'll be dealing with. On the top, of course, the edit button allows us to go into the interface and edit this page, change the content on there, the photos, the text. And on the right side, we have the ability to switch between desktop view and mobile view. Now, keep in mind, if you think that most of your website visitors are coming on desktop, you could very well be mistaken. This is a common mistake that people assume everybody's going to visit on desktop just because you're designing your website on desktop. But the truth is, especially if you ever run ads on social media, you're very likely to see a majority of people on mobile. In fact, no matter what kind of business you run, I would be very surprised if you saw anywhere less than 50% of your traffic coming from mobile. It's very common. Most people spend so much time on their phones. It's just the nature of it. So you want to make sure your website looks good on mobile devices. Of course, over there we can see our site styles, and that is going to allow you to change the color and the scheme and the text. And I think that's actually where we are probably going to start with this video. So let's click on OK and say close. And the site styles on the right side there allows us to customize just that. So let's go to fonts first. And of the fonts, you kind of want to choose a pair of fonts that make sense for you. Now, there's different common pairs of fonts. You can Google this and see, but you can see we have a font pack right here. If we click on switch, and out of these different font packs, I'm gonna go to sans serif, see if we find anything down here. I think I actually like Poppins. I'm not a big fan of the way this website looks on the top. This is just like I really don't like that. We're gonna replace all of that, but I think this font overall looks pretty nice. It definitely gets the job done. And once again, I really hate how there's caps lock and no caps lock. We're not gonna have any of that. But the font itself looks clean, and that's what I was looking for. Now let's go and change the color. This color is absolutely terrible right now. So I'm gonna go down and let's click back, go to site settings, and go to colors. From here, you can click edit palette, and you can either go with one of the presets, you could start with a single color. I'm gonna see what they come up with starting with an image. I have an idea of what the image that I wanna use right here is going to be, so I'm going to select an image. I think my first image is probably gonna be this one, so I'll upload that. Oh, so that did not do a good job selecting from that image. I don't know why it selected such vibrant colors. Let's go back to the presets and see what else might match that image. I think kind of an earthy, neutral, a little bit of green. And then the third option is to go from color. So if we click on the right side there, we can choose like monochrome, complementary, whatever. So maybe I want something like this right here. Again, nothing really that great, but if we go back to colors, this is what we're at. We can always edit the palette and choose individual colors. So if this one is just like way too dark, you can lighten it up a little right here, and that is now our palette, but we're still keeping the same hue on the bottom. So let's go back to colors, and then go back to site styles, and now we can choose the animations. Right now when you load the page, it fades in. You can see like fade, I mean, that's okay. I could just say none. Maybe the page just loads straight up as it is, but you know, that's gonna be a personal preference thing. Going back, we can go to spacing now. So everything, the page width, leave it as it is. Site margin, leave that as it is as well. And then buttons and image blocks, we can customize how those look as well. So let's close that and say the only thing I want to do is maybe add a little bit of a round onto our buttons. I like having a radius on the buttons. I think it just looks a little bit better. And we can customize those corners as well. We'll go back, select image blocks, and I don't think there's anything I want to change with image blocks. I don't really need a radius on them. I think we're pretty much good for our site design. So let's say, so now we can save it on the top left, and that'll bring us back to that original dashboard I showed you a couple minutes ago. Now on the bottom, we do have a subscribe button there. Now I highly recommend you do this as early as possible so you are able to get the domain and really test drive your website on as many different devices as possible. Otherwise you can't actually do that. So let's click on subscribe on the bottom. I'm gonna run you through kind of a quick rundown of what the plans are. So we have 4 different plan options here. These are based on the annual prices. If you pay annually, it is $16 per month. If you pay monthly, it's a little bit more expensive, so you save about 30% going annually. It's usually why I recommend doing that. And plus, when you go annually, you do get that free domain. Otherwise, that wouldn't be there. And scrolling down, you can see these, for the most part, offer a lot of the same stuff. You're getting SSL, which is that little lock icon on the top. Otherwise, people get warned and it says like this site's not secure. So you definitely need SSL, and it's great that that comes with all plans. We also have unlimited bandwidth, so you can have many people visiting your website. You do have video hosting, you have SEO features, you have templates, you have multiple contributors on all of them. And so you don't start to see different things until you get down to professional email from Google. And that's gonna come with the business plan. But honestly, you don't need to get the business plan to have a professional email from Google. You can use your domain and go and pay for that through Google Workspace. It works really well, but again, sometimes it's easier to have everything in one place. Otherwise, premium integrations and blocks come with business. That's why I'm gonna get business for this video, to show you those premium ones. but you also have some e-commerce options once you get to business. But business isn't necessarily the best one if you're doing a lot of e-commerce. So if you're doing a lot of e-commerce, you get lower transaction fees if you go to basic. So an extra $4 per month saves you 3% on those. So as you start getting more sales, you can see how it would be worth it to go up to the basic plan. And sometimes the advanced plan is even better for some people, as you go down here and see that you have things like abandoned cart recovery, a powerful tool to remarket to people as they potentially, maybe they signed off their computer, they forgot to place the order. You can go and remarket to them using, if you have the advanced plan. You also have advanced shipping options, more advanced discounts, commerce APIs, and things like that. So for this video, I'm gonna go with obviously the most popular one, the business one, but keep in mind, you can do most of this in this video using the personal, the basic, the advanced, whatever. Choose whatever makes sense for your business. I'm gonna select the business one here, and I'm gonna check out. And now before you confirm your payment, we do actually have a code. So if you type in Santrel 10 and apply that, you should be getting a discount of 10%. So it saves you, hopefully that saved you about $30 right there, just because you watched this video. So make sure you enter that code right there before you confirm your payment. And once again, that's another reason I like to go with the annual plan, just so you get the maximum discount. Like you could save $2 if you do a monthly plan, or you could save $30 if you do a yearly plan. So you end up saving almost half of the total cost by doing an annual plan instead of a monthly plan. It's actually about 40% you would save. Now I'm going to click on get a free domain for a year. That is something that comes with this plan, 1 year of a domain. It's not always free. Eventually you'll pay usually about $15 to $20 per year for a domain. So it's really not that expensive. I'm going to say get a new domain, and we're going to look for one right now. MikeO'BrienWebsiteDesigns.com is really lengthy, but it is available. Let's see if we can find a shorter one. Say MikeO'BrienWebsites.com is available. So I'm going to say we're going to add that to cart. We're going to check out. Now we will save and continue and confirm the payment. Unfortunately, I don't have a discount code for your free domain, and now we can say done. Now it's going to ask you, how did you hear about Squarespace? You could just say YouTube. And if you want to do this right here, you could say Santrel Media. I really appreciate that. And so now we have our domain. It's all set up. So now we can go to MikeO'BrienWebsites.com, and that'll actually bring us to the website we are developing. So I'm going to close out of this right now. So now let's go and start editing some of the content on this website. Let's click on edit on the top left. And from here, this is going to bring us into the Squarespace editor. You'll see instantly things are outlined in blue. This is what's called a section layout, where we have different sections, like this whole section here. Then going down this whole, like this woman right there is a picture of that is a section. Everything in this green background is another section. This is another section down here, and each section has different elements in it. So we've got a text element, text, 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 and each of these can be moved around anywhere within this element. Now, there is a grid, as you can see when I click and start dragging. There's a grid, so we have to conform to that grid, but you can change the layout of that grid to make it wider or narrower, depending on how much you want things to line up and how offset you want things to be. So let's start off with the very top. I really don't like this section at all. I think this is kind of trash. I don't like it, so we're going to remove it. So simply by hovering over it, we can select remove on the right, and let's remove that section. Now we have this section, which instantly I think looks so much better. It bleeds into our header because our header is transparent. We'll edit the header in a minute, but let's talk about just changing this. The easiest thing we could do is click on edit section, and we're going to select background. There's an image in the background here. Let's close out of that. And we want to change that. We want to use our own image. So click on replace. We can upload a file. And from here, let's just say maybe this one right here, just some random photo of me, and see how this one actually looks. And ideally, I wanted to find an image that had a lot of headspace above for where that header is going to be, and a lot of blank space on the left. It's not the best Photoshop job here. I did have to remove a lamp there. But regardless, that'll give us space to put a little bit of text on the left side. And yeah, just like I wanted, we have more of a visible header here. We'll change the font color and the transparency on that in a minute, but this does a pretty decent job for what we're trying to do. Of course, on the right side, you'll see there's this little dot right here. You can kind of reposition everything as you need. So we can move it up a little bit, maybe like that looks good right there. Just wherever you move that dot kind of repositions your image. And we can change the image effect as well. So you can have weird image effects like this. I really don't like that. Most of these you'll probably never, ever use. Like, for example, this one. I don't think I would ever use that. But maybe like the grain, it could look kind of good. If you want to have grain on your image, gives it kind of a different feel to it. That's kind of a cool thing to add. So I'm going to leave none of those on. We're going to say none. We can go back. And other than that, we can choose if it's full bleed, which it is right now, or just an insert. That way it's not like going, full screen and up into the header. We'll leave it at full bleed. And of course, we do have an overlay on here. It's kind of a greenish overlay because that is the color scheme we chose. And you can choose how transparent that is. I usually leave it around like 5 to 8%. Leave it at 7 for this. I think it adds something to it. It looks kind of nice. Now we can go back to format and we can choose how large this is. So the first section has a lot going on. There's a pretty big grid here, but you can choose if you want the grid to be like locked in like that, or if you want gaps between the blocks. I leave the gaps on, and that usually does a decent enough job. And we can come back to this once we start adding some text to customize it and make sure it fits what we're looking for. So clicking off of that, let's say we want to add some text on the left side. We're going to click Add Block, and I'm going to add text, just regular text. We can double click this, and we can start typing. And so I'm going to say Mike O'Brien. We'll start off with my name, since it is like a personal freelancing site. And we can select, right now it says paragraph 2. We want this to be a heading 1. So we can choose H1. We can stretch this to the width that we want. And if that's not large enough for you, you can also click this little button right here, which makes it full size there. So it fills the entire space you give it. I find that that's a really easy tool for managing headers. I'm going to put it just like that, and it's going to take up the left side here. Still very legible, I think. We could change the color if we want to. From our palette, let's go with a whiter one, a very light one. Let's just say white. So it is very readable. And now we can add something below that. So we'll say add block, and once again we're going to add more text, and we can click and drag this down below. So probably right about there. I don't really want overlap, so we can bring it even a little lower than that. And we could say website design services. And this is going to be H2. Now we can also make that full size as well, so it matches the full width. Really easy tool. I love using that. And we can change the color of this, so we'll highlight that and change that to white as well. And so now we have, let's unselect that. Now we're starting to get this kind of coming together a little bit. It's not perfect, but let's just say below that, we need a call to action at the top. So let's say add block, and we can add a button. So we're going to add a button. Let's click and drag this button right down to the middle here, and we can click on the pencil icon. Now this is going to allow us to change the text. So we could say contact me, and we can have a link. Now if we click the gear icon, you can choose where you're linking to. It could be a page on your website, it could be a file, it could be an email address, a phone number, or just a website address that isn't on your website. We're going to say page for now, and we can link to, actually we don't have other pages, but let's just say free consultation for now. Let's just link to that. We can change that in a little bit later in this video. We'll say save. So again, I really don't like that minty color, so we can go back to site styles really quick and go down to colors. So if we go down, this is using dark 2 in this section here. So we can go down to buttons. We should see button, primary button background. Let's just make it white. It'll look a little better, just clean white. We'll say back to colors, back to site styles, or just click over here, we'll close that. And now we have that. Now always click save, by the way. You want to make sure you're saving as much as possible. And you'll see everything kind of got moved, so my face is up there now. So this got squished. We want to change the size of this. Let's say edit section, and we can change the height by making this a little bit taller, like right around there. So that's probably what we want. That is looking a little bit better. Now we can move these things down as well. So maybe contact me is down there. Maybe Mike O'Brien and design services can move down just a little smidge there. So now let's go down to the next section. I think you're getting the idea of how we can actually edit things. So we want to change this. So we could just double click this and say services, delete the rest. And so here we can have, let's just change each of these. So, and we can add some different text for any of these. Now this right here, I don't really like how this is so far away. So let's once again rearrange it. We can click and drag this up a little bit, and we can click each of these and drag these up a little bit so that this can be a shorter section. It doesn't need to be nearly this tall. So once we drag them up, as you guys probably remember, you remember how to do this, we'll click on Edit Section, and we can change the height. Let's make it a little bit shorter. Make it shorter. We can even make this like a medium. That's all we need right there. Just a short little section like that. I also don't like the Learn More down there, so we can go to the text editor and just delete Learn More. But just to kind of point out what that was, that is a link. So if you highlight any text, so let's just say this text right here, you can click the little link button right there. It's like a chain link, and then you can add a link to that. So I'm gonna delete Learn More on all of these, and we can add buttons in here. I think buttons always look better than linked text. Click on Add Block, and we'll add some buttons in here as well. So let's move this one down below, and you just click and drag, and it resizes the entire block as needed. So let's plop that one right there. Actually move it up a little bit. It's even too big. We don't need it that big. So we could just click on the little edit button, and this can go to design, and we can choose fit instead of fill. So it's a little bit smaller now. And now I like the style of this button, so I can simply click on the duplicate button right there, and then I can move it over to the middle here. We can duplicate it again for the right side, put it over on the right side right there. And this one you'll notice is not centered. So what we could do is click and drag this so it's wider, and now it is going to be centered and lined up with the one above it. Now I'm just gonna paste some Latin dummy text in here just to kind of make these a little bit longer. I think you probably want to have some kind of beef in there. So we're gonna leave this is paragraph 2. This one should be this one should also be paragraph 2, I think. Let's go and change that. Make sure that is paragraph 2, just a slightly larger font. Highlight this and make this one paragraph 2 as well. And so now I think this area looks a little bit better. We're starting to get there. These are not lined up horizontally, so let's just move this down a little bit so it is lined up. And this section, once again, I think it looks pretty good now. So I'm not gonna be too repetitive here in showing you exactly the same thing over and over again, but let's talk about some of the other blocks we can add. So let's get rid of this image. We can just click on the trash can, and we can add a block. So of course we have text and images. We already talked about images, buttons, text. We have video, of course. You have a form, audio, a newsletter. So that could be like, if you had a newsletter, it'll just be like a little sign up, subscribe thing right there. Maybe you wanna have that. Other than that, we also have, sorry, let's click off of this and say add block. We have quotes, which could be a cool way to kind of change up the style of your website. You can add maps and link up with Google Maps using an API. You can embed code. You can have code, or you can have different things embedded in here. You can have Markdown as well. So if you want to have, this is probably most common I would see in like any websites talking about coding or about math or things like that. Markdown is just kind of a different way that you can format things, and you can see you have full Markdown right here. So, and I recommend like kind of scrolling through this and seeing what all of the other options are. Down here, there are some that are premium, so you have to pay a little bit more for them. We also have filters and lists. We have integrations, and we have business products as well. I'm gonna talk about these for sure because these are included with Squarespace, a lot of these tools. So this is something that being run by Squarespace integrates really, really well, and is one of the reasons we recommend using Squarespace in general for anybody. Now make sure you're always clicking save, like as frequently as possible. Now I wanna click on exit right here. Before we go any further in editing this website, those are the different elements you can add. Let's talk about editing the section as a whole. So maybe you don't like how all 3 of these sections kind of look the same. We can click on the section, click edit section, and we can choose the general theme that we're using here. So the colors, right now, this is using dark 2. Maybe we want light 2, so it's going to be the other, so remember, this is a whole color scheme. We can choose any one of these, and these will apply to this entire section. So light 2 would shake it up a little bit. That's not a bad idea. Light 1 is kind of more of an earthy tone. Maybe that looks good too, and it depends on like what the feel of your website is really supposed to be. So I'm gonna leave it as this one right here, kind of a neutral tone right there, and we can continue scrolling down and edit all of these individually. I'm not gonna dive too much into editing individual elements. I think you guys have a pretty good idea of how they work. You have sections and you have elements within the sections, and you can change everything pretty easily. One last thing though, I just noticed I didn't show you this. With these sections, you can add new sections, you can rearrange the sections, and you can duplicate the sections. So starting off with moving them, say maybe this section down here, I want this one a little bit higher, or maybe I want, let's just say this section right here, I want it a little higher. We can simply click on the plus icon when you're hovering over it, and it moves it up a little bit. Now, of course, that kind of undid what we did before, so if we want to move it back, you can just go up here and click on the down arrow. So that just rearranges them Pretty easy to do that. It's a nice feature. We can also duplicate sections. So if I really like this section, I can click on the duplicate icon, and now we can customize this and change the text and move it down. And so now we have other sections that, again, saves us work by using the same template as we had on an earlier section. Of course, we can also add sections between two sections by clicking Add Section and select a lot of the pre-made ones, or you can just do a blank one if you want to build it from scratch. But the pre-made ones do make it quite easy. If I want to have a quote or testimonials, let's say testimonials. Let's see what we have for testimonials. Here we can say, maybe like this testimonial looks good. Maybe this one does. Let's go with this testimonial right here. We can have a testimonial tab or a banner. So we can have a testimonial section. And within here, you can see there are multiple testimonials. So we can say edit content, and it has, if you go to content, a whole list of the different testimonials. Click on any one of them. We can replace the image. We can replace what they said. And we can replace the name. And so it gives you a nice little like carousel of different testimonials. Just one of the many sections you can add that is already pre-made and again, saves you a lot of effort. So once again, let's go up to save. And now we have most of this website pretty well designed. I want to talk about the header and the footer as well as the navigation. But before we get into those, let's talk a little bit more about one of the first tools I'm going to cover in this video, being Canva.com. Now, Canva is a great way to design some content that you might want to include in here. This could be graphics, it could be your logo. We will need a logo for later on in the video as well, so we'll be doing that. Or you could use it for other things, social media, different banners, Facebook posts, whatever. So we can go in a new tab to Canva.com. This is free to use. There's a paid version as well, but I usually just recommend the free one. It's easy enough to do. And we can go and sign up. I'm actually gonna open a new tab because I do have an account already. All right, so we are logged into Canva. I have Canva Pro, so I have a couple extra functions on here, but you can pretty much do most of this without Canva Pro. There's a lot of functionality. Just like I said, we can make documents, so that could be like a report you're writing. This could be flyers you're gonna hang up, whatever. You can also have whiteboard things if you're presenting, like a slideshow, a presentation, an Instagram post, actually one dedicated for flyers, Facebook posts, logos, like Instagram stories, videos, so many different pre-made templates on here. Let's start off with a logo, and let's say website designer logo. Let's just see what we have. You can type in something fairly specific and see what we have. So we can go graphic designer logo, interior design logo. There's a bunch of different ones. Let's just say graphic designer logo. Let's see what kind of templates they come up with. All of these are a pretty good start, and keep in mind, like I said, some of them in a little crown, you can't actually use them unless you pay for Canva Pro, but you can still use the free ones and customize them, which when you're getting started off is a really easy way to do that. So let's just figure out what is a good logo for me right here. I think this one, I don't really like the paintbrush on there, but I like that little icon. I'm gonna roll with this one right here. We're gonna go with this, super plain and simple. We're gonna customize the template. And here you can just say, let's change this. We'll double click it and say Mike, or we could say O'Brien. O'Brien graphic design. That's easy. Actually, instead of graphic design, let's just say website design. Website design, and that is the logo. Maybe I want to make it a little bigger so we can highlight it and drag it to the full size right there. Move it down a little bit. And then I know what else I want to add here. So on the left side, we have, first of all, the design. So if you want to choose your template, that's going to be right there. We have elements, so you can add other things on here. So if you wanted to add like this, for example, you just click and drag it anywhere you want, and you can customize. I'll talk about the colors in a second, but let's delete that. Click on the trash icon, and now we can go down and let's actually look for, say Irish, see what kind of Irish stuff we have. That one looks kind of cool. I kind of like that actually. That one, more of an intricate design. Yeah, actually, I think I like that. So let's center it and put it right there. And actually, let's move it up a smidge right there. And then we can actually change the colors of different items. So this right here, we can choose the color of that. So we can make that a little bit darker or a little bit lighter. Let's make it a little darker, dark color like that. And now it's going to be saved as a document color. So we can click on the text now and change the color of our text to match that. And then down here, this little square, if you click on that, or the rectangle rather, we can change that color as well. So now we have those three items there. all colored correctly. We can change the font of things, we can change the size of things, but I think that actually looks pretty good as it is. So I am going to click on share, and we are going to download this. I want to select transparent background because this is a logo, and in this version, I do want to have a transparent background, so we can download this right now. And then I'll make another copy of this that doesn't have a transparent background, that actually has a white background, because sometimes you do actually want a white background. So we'll download it again. We'll not select transparent background. We'll download that. So now we have two versions of the logo. And let's actually just kind of quickly talk about some other things we can do with Canva, because I kind of breezed through the logo creation really quickly there. Canva, like I said, is a powerful tool. So let's go and make, let's go back to home. So back to home. And let's say maybe something else we want to make would be an Instagram post. So let's say Instagram post, we can select that. And that'll bring us into Instagram post templates. There are tons of different options here, but you can also search, like I said, for something a little bit more specific. So you can say Instagram post website design, search, see what it comes up with. And right there, 5 important rules of website design. Maybe that's something you would want to share. And you can see it's a slide. There's 6 different slides there, 6 different frames. So let's check that one out. We can customize this template, and you'll see we have multiple versions of this. So if you want to, so each one edits exactly like I showed you on the logo. We have different elements. We can move them around. We can double click them and change what they say. We could single click them and change everything on the top, from the font to the size, the color, the bullets, like different effects on there as well. If you want to add a shadow, for example, you can add a shadow. There's a lot of customization here, and it all seems to be, in my opinion, very intuitive. You kind of just play around with everything on the left side, and it really makes sense. If you ever do anything that you want to undo, there's an undo button on the top right next to resize. And of course, if you want to duplicate this or add another frame, we just click on duplicate right there, or we could delete it, or we could click on add a new page. They're calling it page, I would call it frames, really the same thing there. And then whenever you're done, you can just download these by clicking share, go to download, and you can have multiple, essentially they'll download as 6 different JPEGs that you can then use on your Instagram post. And again, you're getting this nice clean format that saves you a lot of time, and it's a totally free tool to use. I also recommend when you have your Canva account, you go down to brands and you set up your brand templates and your brand logo and your brand color palette so that everything can be really easy to customize, so you don't have to keep uploading your logo. You just go to brands, click and drag your logo, and it's going to be on every single thing that you want it to be on. So I'm going to delete that. We don't need that right now. There's also a draw function. I actually think this might be new. I don't remember, or at least I've never used the draw function, but if you want to draw something, so if you really want to circle something or make it a little bit less structured, make it a little bit more hand drawn, it's something you could do. Again, if you're using this on an iPad, for example, maybe that'd be useful to have that. So I don't want to get too into the weeds on this tangent about Canva, but it's a very powerful tool. We needed to make a logo anyway, and I thought this would be maybe a helpful segment where I can show you how to use this tool and how it could possibly help you in different aspects of your website. So I highly recommend after this tutorial, you head on over to Canva, or maybe even right now, and just kind of explore around, get a better feel for what kind of content you can make, so you better understand the tool and you know what you have in your toolbox when you need to make future graphic designs. Go back to our website, and now let's get back to editing the header and the footer and the navigation and other aspects of this site. So if we hover over the header, it'll say Edit Site Header. That'll pop up. We can click on Edit Site Header, and here you see a little interface. There's not a whole lot we can do to edit it, but that's actually a good thing. It's pretty straightforward, and everything you would want to do is right down here. So let's click on Site Title and Logo, and now we're going to add a logo. Let's upload a file. Let's start off with the transparent one, first of all, and that should be placing it, I believe, up in the center. I don't know if I really want it up in the center. So honestly, I don't really like having the logo up in the center. I don't think that looks the best. So we're going to just click on that, click remove. I really like having the name of it there. I think that the site title makes more sense. So I'm gonna leave it as is for that. On mobile, we can maybe add the logo there. So let's upload that file again, open, and now we'll have the logo on mobile, but we will be using the logo again throughout this website in one specific spot for sure. And I'll show you where that is in a minute. Let's click on back, and other things we can do. Let's click on elements, And so in the header, we do want to have a button that says work with me, or we could just say like get a quote, get a quote. And this could link over to the work with me page. So you can really customize where this button is going by, again, clicking that gear icon, and you can choose, maybe it's like your email, for example. We could say email, and this could just go to like, we could just say mike@mikeobrienmedia.com. The subject could be email from website, quote request from website, for example. And that'll just kind of pre-populate that. And then they can add some things, and you can copy people, add, BCC or CC. So it's a nice way that when people click that button, it'll open up their email software, their app on their phone or on their laptop, desktop, whatever, and they'll be able to contact you. Just one of the many ways you can utilize a button. Then besides the button, we have social links. We do want to make sure that we're editing our social links so that, like, by default, they're going to Squarespace. That's not what you want. You don't want them to click on Instagram and end up on the Instagram for Squarespace. You want them to find you, of course. So let's go here and click on each and every one of these, and we can type in Mike O'Brien. So we'll save that one. Same thing with Facebook. I think that's actually Mike O'Brien Media on Facebook. On YouTube, this one is definitely Mike O'Brien Media. Mike O'Brien Media. And we can add other social links as well, just by typing in like Twitter/Mike O'Brien. Hit enter, and that will be there. Actually, I think it should be X, but whatever, Twitter. And now we can say back, and so social links are there. We can change the size of the social links icon, maybe a little bit bigger, so that people can see them and head over to those. And we can choose if we want a border. I don't need a border on social icons. I think they look good just like that. We can add a language switch if you want to have a multilingual site. I'm not going to do that because I'm not good enough at any other languages to be comfortable editing a website in another language. And we could add a cart, or again, disable a cart because we don't have anything on this website we're selling. Go to style next, and we can choose what this is going to be. Right now it is dynamic. We could have the theme style. I don't like that. We could have gradient. That's actually not too bad, to be honest. It looks a little antiquated. Or we could have solid. Let's go with dynamic. Let's leave it as dynamic for now. We don't want a border. Let's go back. And we can choose if it's a fixed position, which it currently is, or we could have it a not fixed position. So now if you click on the little desktop icon on the top, you can choose how this is actually laid out. So header layout has the website name, has button over there, has navigation below it, and then on the left side, everything else. Let's say instead, maybe I want this right here where everything is over on the left side. Maybe that looks good, or maybe the buttons are in the middle. Let's actually put it like this. And now that everything's over there, maybe I do want the logo on the left side. So let's leave it like this. Let's go back. And like I said, we maybe want to have, let's click on the little global icon there. Let's go to site title, and let's add our logo here. I think it'll look better now that it's on the left side. We'll say open. Our logo is probably pretty short here. It's only 500 by 500 pixels. So we can change the height of that to that. Let's actually replace it. We could change the height of our logo. Again, maybe you want to have another version of this logo that's all white. I think that would probably look a lot better here, but you get the idea of how we'd go about editing that. And then the social icons, they're on the right side. So this is all kind of coloring things you can customize as you start to build your website. This is all stuff like the coloring. As you put things together, you realize what works, what doesn't work, and you can customize the style based on that. So maybe like gradient would actually make sense, and maybe the background color could be like this minty green. Maybe that would be a good gradient for the header, just to make things a little bit more readable. And plus that triggers the buttons and the social icons to be black, which once again are more readable on that background over there. Now we can also choose, and with this we can also choose the navigation color, which is black. We can blur the background on the top. That doesn't actually look good. That actually doesn't look good. And we can add a drop shadow if you wanted to for either the header or, I mean, I'm just going to leave that off. I don't really think we need to have a drop shadow on the header. So that is, again, I didn't really like the fade on the top. That's not my favorite style, but it does make things look more readable. So I'm going to leave it on for now. So once again, go back to desktop. Here we can choose anything else. Vertical padding if you want to have more space, less space, probably fine. Element spacing, we can make things a little bit tighter in there. And link spacing, those can be a little tighter as well, just to kind of keep things a little bit neater. So play around with the spacing and find out what works best for you. Similarly, we can go to mobile and choose how this header is actually looking on mobile. Over on the left side, I think probably looks better here. And so we'll say back, and we can have a menu that pops up like that. That looks good. And now let's go back to global. and we can just click off of that. So once again, go up and click save. Now we want to talk more about editing that little, like the navigation on the top, like putting, like we don't need all of those pages there. So we'll talk a lot more about pages as well as how to edit those a little bit later. But let's go down. One last thing I want to touch on is the footer. So if you click on edit footer, we can change things here. This one's going to be a lot more like a traditional block throughout this entire page, a traditional section that is. And we can add different blocks. Like if you want to add like a button down here or an image, you just place an image wherever you want and customize that just as we did before. So there's much less to say about the footer. It's pretty easy to manage this. Just click and drag things around. And so I'm going to leave it just like that. We'll say save. And now we can click on exit on the top left. So our website's starting to come together a little bit. It's definitely not perfect, but this is again something that you'll want to customize and find the right image, the right colors, and the right design for your specific website. I'm just trying to show you the general tools that you would use to make your own websites. So that is how you edit the contents of the website. On the left side, we didn't get into any of these tabs yet, so there's still plenty to talk about here. Starting off with website, this is going to be managing the different pages you have. So remember I said we have these different pages. We don't necessarily need them in navigation, or maybe we don't need those pages at all, or maybe we need other pages. So the way this is set up is that you have navigation pages and you have non-navigation, non-linked pages down here. So if I think, for example, the coaching tab or the coaching page, maybe I don't want that in my navigation, but I still want the page, you can simply click and drag that all the way down here until you get to not linked and drop it there. So now it's not linked, it'll be removed from the top, but you still have that page. It still does exist, it's just not linked in navigation, and you can have buttons that direct to that, or you could just have it shared through like an email or whatever. There's different ways to access the pages. Same thing here, if we don't like the services page, if we just, let's click on it, you can see the page first of all. This came with a template. If we don't like this page, or if it's just too much work to redo and you'd rather start from scratch, you can click on the little trash can to the left of services, say confirm, and that will delete that page. Then here we have recipes. That makes no sense for me, so I'm going to delete that. We'll click on delete, and this is a folder, meaning it has two different pages below it. We're going to delete all of them just by saying confirm. So now we have about and we have contact. But if we go down here, you'll see we do also have blog posts. We have recipes. We don't need that. Work with me. Let's go and say maybe blog posts. We want to move that up here. So we can click and drag that up to main navigation. And again, depending on where you place it, that'll define the arrangement from left to right is top to bottom here. So putting it on the bottom, we'll put it to the right of contact, as you can see right there. There's also member sites on here. We didn't talk about member sites just yet, but that would be if you have like a course, or if you have some type of membership thing that people would pay to be a part of, they'll have an account and they'll be able to access these specific pages when they actually create their account. Really a powerful tool. Not every website will have or need that, but let's talk about making new pages. If we want a new one on the navigation bar or not, it doesn't really matter. Let's just click on the plus icon, and you can choose from a pre-made page layout, a scheduling page, or just a blank page in general. And these two are going to use the same exact editing tools I already showed you throughout this video. There's also collections down here, so you can have blogs, store, portfolio, events, videos, course, or folders as well, or just a general link. So let's add a link right here just to kind of demonstrate this. And I want to add a link maybe to a specific, it could be like a PDF. Maybe someone's going to download a specific PDF. So let's just call this one, let's call it my ebook, whatever. Click on the gear icon and we can choose file, and we can open the file in a new window. Let's upload this file, and we have that file right there, just some random file. It's actually an image, but we'll say save, and now we can save that, and now we have that up there. So my ebook is something people can click on. It'll open or download that file for them. And so again, there's a powerful tool that you can use up on the top. So let's click on the plus icon one more time. Actually, let's make this a non-linked page. If we go down here to not linked, click on the plus icon, and we can create a scheduling page. This is for booking appointments or classes or whatever. Think of like a dentist or a restaurant, or maybe if you have like a yoga class. Any of these would have scheduling, and so we can click on scheduling and have a scheduling page dedicated to exactly this. You can make it very simple, like this one right here is fine, or I would probably go with one that's has a little bit more going on, maybe like this right here. So we can add some text on the left side. We're just gonna call this book an appointment. let's say actually, yeah, book a call. Maybe this is like a consulting call kind of thing. So we'll say book a call. And so here, this is going to allow us to, if you click on it, we can go and edit this entire page. So taking a look at this appointment booking page, we have a couple things right here. So on the right side, you can see this block outlined in red is telling us that we didn't connect to scheduling yet. So we can't actually use this. We're gonna have to start scheduling or connect an existing account. Scheduling is a premium service. We'll have to upgrade to actually get that. And so there are different plans. I'll talk about that in a second. And on the left side, you can see just some basic text that we are able to edit here. So let's look a little bit closer at this on the right. So we can hover over that little error icon and say start a scheduling trial, talk a little bit more about the different pricing options here. So let's talk about this scheduling page. So right here, this is called book a call, the page that we have. And if you go down here, you'll see that we have this one block outlined in red, telling us that we currently can't use this because we don't have scheduling features available on our website. So our plan doesn't include scheduling, but you can still kind of buy it a la carte. You can get that separate. So if you hover over that little red error icon, you can say start a scheduling trial. There's another way to do this. If we go back to home, you'll see we can actually go down to scheduling here, and this is going to allow us, it's going to take us to the exact same page. And so from here, you can set up your scheduling page. We're going to call this Michael Bryan Website Designs. That's the name of this. That makes sense. And the scheduling page URL, this is optional. So I'll just leave that one blank. We'll say next. And now the type of appointment, the first type is going to be consultation. For consultation, and this can be 30 minutes, and it is an appointment. It could be a group if you have a bunch of people, if you're doing like a course or something like that, or like a yoga session, whatever people are doing, like signing in to see an online thing. That's another way you could do this. And if there's a price, let's just say the first one, like $150, I don't know, whatever your pricing is, you'd put that in there. Now, the times you are available, you can select these. So let's just say, you know, I work every day, so I'll have them all selected. And within these, you can actually add other times, so it's not just once per day. Let's say maybe I take a break for lunch, especially on Fridays. I could say so we could say 9 a.m., or we could say earlier than 9. So let's say 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and then we can add another row, and we could say the second start time is like 1:30 p.m. until 6 p.m., 6 o'clock p.m. Now we can say next. And we have to accept payments. We're charging for this, and so far we haven't sold anything else on our website, so we will have to connect a payment method here. So we'll say connect. You could always do this later if you wanted to, but it's just easier to do that now. So by default, it says payment information is not required. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna set it to collect deposits or full payment, and then you have to connect one of these down here, PayPal, Square, or Stripe. Now, all of these are free to set up, so let's just say we're gonna set up Square right now. So I'll click on Square. We'll click on sign up. We can enter a username and a password. Then we can select the type of merchant we are. So LLC is what I'm gonna select. But of course, use whatever your business is. If you don't already have a business, you can maybe set one up. I can't give legal advice, but maybe it's something you wanna consider in the future to go through, like Taylor Brands, for example, or one of the many other ways to set up a business or an LLC, for example. I'm gonna say continue, and we can just keep saying continue through all of this. Now we have to verify my identity, say continue, and this should be able to verify our identity within just a couple of minutes, and we'll be set up and ready to go to accept payments. Now, they're obviously doing this to reduce fraud, so people aren't just making fake names, accepting credit cards, and then disappearing. So if you click on View Plans and Upgrade Now, you can see we have 3 different plans here. These are currently priced as the annual price per month, if that makes sense. So if you pay annually, it'll end up being $16 per month, or if you pay monthly, it's 20% more expensive. If you're just starting out and you want to kind of test the waters, maybe monthly makes sense for the first couple months until you get things going, and then you can switch over to annual, but it's totally up to you. Some people just go annually from the start. Here we have 3 different options though. There are a bunch of differences further down, but at the top, you can see they all still have calendar syncing, customizable scheduler. They have a lot of the same stuff, but you have a different number of calendars for each team member, employee, or location. You only have 1 for the emerging, 2 to 6, and then 7 to 36 for Powerhouse. You'll see more differences down here. Like one of them is, I believe, SMS reminders. Where is that? SMS text reminders is only available for the 2 more expensive ones. So that could be a big thing to make sure you have fewer no-shows. So you don't want people like forgetting they had it, and having a text message could be a great way to remind them. Packages, gift certificates, memberships, subscriptions. Subscriptions is a big one as well, which again, you can only get with the 2 more expensive ones. The optional powered by badge, I don't really care as much about that one. and HIPAA stuff. So if you're doing medical, then HIPAA would actually be obviously very relevant, and you'd pretty much have to do the powerhouse option on the right. So if we select one, we can confirm the payment, and we will have that ready to go. So at that point, anybody can go on our website, make an appointment. We'll be able to see our appointments and manage them and join them pretty easily over on our dashboard. So let's go through some other things on this website. I don't want to dive too deep into scheduling. I can get in the weeds on that in another video if you guys would like. Okay, now that we have that, if we go to scheduling, it'll take us to this page here. It'll tell us we have that, and it gives us a couple tasks we can do. You can see on the left side, we have our calendar, our clients, our invoices, and our reports. So a totally different dashboard. This is like a different corner of Squarespace where you can manage a lot of this stuff because it is somewhat independent from your website, and Squarespace does a good job of this, is kind of isolating like the e-commerce corner, the scheduling corner, like different things that don't make it too noisy. They have each have their own corner and their own set of tools when you are managing within them. So let's first design our scheduling page. And this is going to be pretty straightforward. I think the one that they already have looks decent enough. We can add our logo in there. Remember before I said we were going to be using our logo more, so it was a good idea that we made that. So let's add that now. And we can either show it monthly or daily. I think monthly looks better, so people can kind of choose like the right day for them, and then it'll show which times are available on that day. Personally, it just looks cleaner to me, so I'm gonna go with that one. The businesses, we can select an industry there if we want. I don't really think I need to do this, but let's go down and find marketing or website development, whatever makes the most sense. I'm just gonna say marketing agency for ease of use here. And down here, we can say the week starts on Sunday. We can choose the background. We can change some pretty basic things. Not a whole lot going on there that we can change, but I'm just going to save those changes. So that is the appearance of the scheduling page. Save those changes. Scheduling page options then is a little bit more advanced. You can choose what else you have showing there. So you can hide the duration if you don't want to show the duration. I think showing duration is just fine. You can hide prices. Don't do that, please. I think showing prices makes sense. But if you're, again, maybe like in the weird, twisted world of medical where it's a mystery until after your surgery and then you find out the price, then whatever, you can hide your prices here, I guess. But disable client, there's other things you can do. You can require a phone number. Again, maybe that's something you'd want to do to reduce the no-shows. And lastly, we have advanced CSS. We don't need to do that. That's if you have some more advanced coding type stuff that you'll know if you need that, and most people don't need that. So I forgot, I have to go down and click Save Changes, save those changes, and now we can go back to scheduling. So from here, let's talk about our calendar. We can see our calendar right here. We have a test consultation today. If you click on that, this works a lot like a Google Calendar. So this is a full calendar manager that it tells you how much things cost or what somebody paid. It'll tell you some notes on there. It'll tell you who it is, when it's scheduled, basic stuff, like really not just basic, everything you would need like that. You can also reschedule, cancel, or edit this and see the history as well. So I'm going to close out of that. That's your calendar. You'll probably be in here a lot. This is super useful, especially for calls. And of course, you can always port this over to other calendars as well, so you can see things on like your Google Calendar, for example. You can then go to clients. This will have your client list. Right now we have a test, but you can import or export other clients if you have a list of clients from another website that you might have had before or some other software. And of course, we can see the invoices. So this, you can create an invoice within here. And again, a very powerful thing that Squarespace offers where you can type in the name. So if we just say Jane McTest, we can add a line item, and we could say consultation, which it already knows is $150 because we have that saved as an item that we can charge, and we can then send this over. So we can preview the email. So this will be the preview. Then they can view and pay the invoice, and we'll get paid. It's just a really, again, super convenient and powerful way to manage your invoices using Squarespace. So we're gonna save that. We can also go down to reports, and this again has another list of details. We've got appointments, so you can see how many appointments you have, how you're doing, how booked up you are. We can look at revenue, we can look at intake forms, tips, and again, we can import and export other things as well. Going down, we have our scheduling page link. If you want to share this, again, if you want to embed this on like your socials or something like that, there's your link, you can copy that. Again, very easy to do, michaelbryanwebsitedesigns.as.me. Super easy to copy that. And again, customizing the appearance, we already did that. Then going back to the home scheduling page right here, we can add other appointments types. So remember, we have consultation as the first one, and you saw in the invoice, I could easily add that in. But if you have other styles of calls, you could have a quick little half-hour call in here. You could add like a closure call. You can add whatever. If you're like an attorney, you can add all those different things in here, different styles, different lengths of calls, whatever. Different appointments can be added in appointment type. So really, the options are endless. I don't know what kind of business you're running, but I think you should probably, I'm sure the wheels are turning, and you probably have a good idea of where you'd go about using this. Then down here, we have integrations. I don't want to skip past the other two. We'll go back to those in a second, but integrations is a big one because you can add QuickBooks. You can set up an integration with QuickBooks, and that way you'll be able to kind of manage everything. If you're doing a cash basis or accrual basis, like if you're doing accrual, this would make a lot of sense. So it's not just when it hits your bank account. You can actually track things based on when you are doing the job and when you're sending out the invoice or when you're getting paid, and that will be set up. You can set it up with QuickBooks. You can also set up other things like MailChimp, Constant Contact, ConvertKit. Those are all email management. So if you want to send out reminders to people, if you want to send out, just do more email managing, or if you just want to, kind of port this list over there, MailChimp, ConvertKit, and Constant Contact are all great ones. Or, of course, there are Squarespace email campaigns. It's interesting that you have to set that up, being that this is Squarespace. But once again, showing how Squarespace has these dedicated corners where you kind of get a lot more, like, it feels like a totally different software that's just in another corner within Squarespace. I'm sure it's very easy to connect to that, but also Google Analytics could be a really big one to see what kind of traffic is going on this website, where people are dropping off. Maybe they go through and they're clicking on things, and then they get to the checkout and they all give up. That's something you can already see on Analytics, but Google Analytics can give you like a little bit more. You can also sync to Google Contacts using Zapier. There's actually a lot with Zapier that kind of connects a lot of different software, so no surprise there that you can connect to so many different things, but like there's just so many down here. Of course, Zoom and Google, well, Google Hangouts doesn't really, Google Meet's probably what you'd be using now, but Zoom is a big one. Maybe if you're doing a lot of video calls, you can set it up with Zoom so it automatically makes a new meeting, a new appointment with each call that you have. So when you go in your calendar, you just have a link and it's ready to go, which of course that makes a lot of sense, and it should be, again, pretty seamless once you have that set up. And there are other APIs, like I said, we've got payments down here. And then, of course, we've got socials like business, Facebook Business and Instagram. So plenty of integrations here. We'll talk more about other integrations throughout all of Squarespace, not just within here. But let's talk about those other things. Sync with other calendars. That's what I mentioned before. When you have your calendar within Squarespace, maybe you use Apple Calendar on your phone. Maybe you use Google Calendar, maybe you use Outlook, whatever. You can sync that up right here and port everything over very easily. This can also help you to see when you're available and when you're not available for clients and potential like interference. So if you have any conflicts, you can reschedule things accordingly. So I think this kind of, I don't have to explain that. That makes a lot of sense right there. Going back to the homepage for scheduling, we also have two more things I want to talk about here. One of them is intake form questions. This could be great if you're like a doctor, a therapist, whatever, or attorney or whatever, and you want to know a little bit about the client ahead of time to save some time in the call. Just get some basic information so you're not always asking the same couple questions in the beginning of the meeting. Or, of course, if it's like an in-person thing, maybe you're like a chiropractor, you want to know where the pain is, what they've done in the past, whatever. So scheduling in this sense, you would want to know you'd have some intake forms, and you can make a new custom form here, and that's pretty self-explanatory. We also have packages, gifts, and subscriptions. So subscription could be if you have like maybe an online course, or maybe it could be like a weekly call. Like I know people that have like maybe an 8-week or a 10-week program that you can join, and there's like 50 people in it, and every week you get a call with all these people, and it's a meeting, so you'd have a group. And this could be maybe an ongoing subscription, so you could do that here. You could also have coupons if you're trying to run promotions, and we do also have types at the top, so different packages for appointments. You could say, hey, book 1 call or book 10. Maybe you get some kind of bundled discount price there. So that's all I want to talk about with scheduling. Super powerful service, but let's actually go back to, so that's all I wanted to show you with scheduling. Let's go back to the home page for Squarespace, and here you can see a couple more tabs that we haven't really talked a lot about. So we talked about website, we talked about scheduling. Within website, plenty of stuff. I think you guys get the idea with that. We didn't talk about selling yet. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to touch a little bit more on marketing, contacts, and analytics first, because not everybody's going to be selling, but if you are selling, don't worry, we will cover that in some pretty great detail. So let's talk about marketing. Within marketing, there are going to be some other integrations. Like I showed you before, MailChimp is a pretty big one, or Constant Contact, a lot of the other email ones, but there's plenty more than just that. So when you click on marketing, the first thing you'll see is kind of this home page here, recommending a couple different tools. Squarespace has plenty of their own, and one of them will be with email campaigns. Squarespace does have their own email campaign tool, which maybe you want to use that. Maybe you instead want to use MailChimp, and I'll talk about how to do either one of them. But if you click on email campaigns, it'll take you over to the default Squarespace one. So here you can select an email template, you can create a mailing list, you can add sender details. And the benefit of doing this, kind of a quick little comparison for you here, the benefit of doing it within Squarespace is that it is definitely going to be easier to integrate everything. Squarespace is going to have an easier interface than MailChimp. MailChimp or Sendinblue or a lot of those other ones tend to have a bit of a learning curve. We have full tutorials on how to use them, but nonetheless, it's going to take you another couple hours to set that up and really get things ironed out without any kind of issues. Within Squarespace, it should be a lot easier. So maybe that's the best route for you, but you do have more flexibility with the other ones. You have some automations you can set up and different things like that. You have different pricing as well, so you can find better deals with different platforms out there. But that's all I wanted to show you within email campaigns. If we go down to marketing tools, we have quite a few things that are actually pretty significant. One of them, which I'm kind of surprised I didn't mention this earlier. I should have mentioned this earlier. Promotional pop-up is a pretty big one. So when you go to a website, personally, I hate pop-ups. But if you're shopping, you can have different triggers. Like sometimes I'm shopping on a page and then I'm about to go and click X and then I get a pop-up. So some websites like to do that where they don't bother you until it looks like you're probably going to get off the page. And then they're going to say, hey, by the way, here's a discount. If you want a discount code, or maybe you want to like put your email in and you're thinking about it and you want to do this later, like a pop-up that actually adds some value for the user and doesn't distract and make them want to leave your page. So moral of the story here, if you use pop-ups, do not make it like a minefield of ads and pop-ups and like make your website a total disaster that nobody wants to use. You want to have a good user experience, and Google does track that. They track how long people spend on your website. So you want to be careful when you're showing the pop-up and what's actually triggering the pop-up. So we can choose the layout for this pop-up. I think honestly, like a basic one like this is just fine if you have a good image in the background, or whichever one you like, you can edit that one. I'm just gonna leave it as this for now. This video is already getting quite long, so we'll go back, and from here, we can choose the action. So right now the action is sign up for the newsletter, or it could just be clicking a button. That button would go somewhere else. So it could be like follow us on Instagram. It could be check out our latest collection. It could be whatever. But signing up for a newsletter is probably the most common one. And we can incentivize that as well. So we can set up a whole system here where you say sign up for the newsletter and get 10% off. And so they'll put their email in, they'll say submit, they'll be on the newsletter, and their first welcome email based on how you set this up will give them a coupon code that gives them 10% off. So that's one way that a lot of online businesses, a lot of retailers or sellers do that. And you can easily do that. Like I said, that's a super easy one to do within MailChimp. And I did show how to do that in a MailChimp tutorial. I'm sure you can do that as well with Squarespace and Sendinblue and all the other ones as well. So we can choose the button, we can have verification, you can turn on reCAPTCHA if you're worried about like bots going on and filling that up. But you do have to actually set that up with Google and get your license for that as well. So I'm going to not do that at the moment, but it walks you through that. It's not especially hard to do. We'll say save. Then we can click on storage, and you can actually connect to a Squarespace email campaign because obviously this wants to know, hey, if people are signing up for a newsletter, where's the newsletter? And so you can connect to a Squarespace email campaign, the default mailing list. Like I said, this is where it really is easier to use Squarespace as your email management software because it's already integrated super well here. Just by default, we didn't set it up and it's already ready to go. So we'll say save, and now we can create that mailing list like that. So let's go back to promotional pop-up and do a couple more things to kind of manage this. So if we say content, we can choose what it says. So join our mailing list for 10% off your first order. Let's make it a little more than that. Let's make it like 20%. 20%. I would do that. If I was shopping and someone said 20% off, yeah, you could have my email for that. And we'll say save. Go back to promotional pop-up. And we can also choose display and timing. This is what I said before, where you want to make sure it's not like an immediate thing that makes the website unusable. And you want to choose how frequent it is. Obviously, not every time people go on this website, because if they're always visiting your site, they're a regular shopper, they probably are already on your email newsletter, email, your mailing list anyway. So you don't want to have it popping up all the time. Every 30 days is probably good enough. I would say you could also choose if you want this to show on mobile or not. And you could say, hey, once they sign up for the newsletter, don't show this to them anymore, because it's redundant. They're going to be annoyed by that. As far as the timing for this, we can show on a timer. It could be on a scroll, or it could be a timer and a scroll. So that could be when people scroll down, then it pops up. It could be a certain amount of time, or it could be a combination when they get 25% of the way down, and after maybe 10 seconds, maybe 30 seconds on the website, they're a little bit lower, maybe it'll pop up then. And so also it's going to be a more interested potential user anyway. So it makes sense to do that. So we're going to save this. We're going to go back, and we can choose the style. So this is the last thing that I want to customize here. You can choose the color, you can choose the color behind the text, and kind of go through this and do all the basic stuff that we talked about earlier with styling anything on your website for that matter, because this by default isn't actually showing like the same style as the rest of our website. The theme didn't transfer over here. I'm not sure why Squarespace hasn't done that yet. It seems like it would make a lot of sense to kind of map everything over. Like we should be getting some more neutral colors, not all black and gray. But if you know what the colors are, just put them in there right now anyway. So lastly, we're going to turn this on so we do have a pop-up running, and we can save this. Go back to System Elements now. There are several other marketing tools we can do. One of them is Announcement Bar, so that'll be on the top. And again, if you're selling things, you can enable the Announcement Bar with the little drop-down, Enable Announcement Bar. And the announcement could be save, or we could say free shipping. Let's just say save 10% on all items with code save 10. And this could be clickable, and we want them to be redirected to a specific page. Maybe it's going to go to a page on our website, and it's going to be, I don't know, book a call, whatever. It'll be on the book a call page. That doesn't really make sense because we don't have that coupon set up just yet with save 10, but that's something that, maybe we're going to be offering on here, and we can save that now. Let's go back to System Elements, go back to Website. It's taking us back a different way than we came in, so let's go to Home, and we're going to go back down to Marketing. We're going to get back to the page we were on. So if we go to Marketing Tools, remember Promotional Pop-Up, we did that. Announcement Bar, we did that. URL Builder. This is going to be a big one to create unique trackable links for ad campaigns and third-party platforms. Definitely a little bit more advanced once we get into that. So, but we can click on that, and it kind of walks you through a lot of stuff. So you can create a URL to link to your next advertisement. So if I want book a call to be linked on, say, Instagram, I could say next, and it'll give me a nice URL. So we can copy that, and we can say done. So now we'll have that URL. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this one. I think you'll know when you're running ads what you actually want to use this for, and you can track traffic through that link. It'll make sense once you start using that and actually running ad campaigns, if you do that at all. But SEO appearance is something that no matter what you're doing, you will want to have SEO. You want to have your search engine optimization done correctly. That's what SEO stands for. So this is going to be the organic, the free traffic to your website. If you make a website, people are on Google looking for you, and you're just trying to make it optimized so Google knows you are who you are, and that everybody can find you. Not just Google, also Bing and all the other ones globally, but Google is probably the biggest one that most people try to optimize for. So if we click on SEO appearance, there's really a nice checklist that Squarespace does for us, and they kind of walk you through a lot of different things. But for one, each page is going to have a specific format. It's going to have like a name right here. This is a little example of what you'll see when somebody searches and finds you. You'll have the name on the top, you'll have the URL, and you'll have this little meta description down below. Together, it's called your metadata. And we can choose what the format actually is. So we can choose what this title here is going to show. We can choose like a lot of stuff throughout this. But if we click on SEO checklist, this will kind of give you, like I said, a very comprehensive list of things to do and things to work on to make sure that your website ranks on Google. And I've always thought that like Wix does a good job, but Squarespace also really does a fantastic job of really defining everything, showing you what you need to care about. And as long as you go through this entire list, you should definitely be improving your rankings in Google and get a lot more free traffic. You can also see Google search keywords, and it'll kind of walk you through like where your traffic is coming from. Let's close out of that. It'll show you the traffic, the keywords on how people actually got here. You will have to connect to Google Search Console, of course, for this. But let's go back to where we were. I'm getting a little bit off on a tangent here. The SEO site description, we do actually need to have that. So now we're going to say save. We can close out of this. And again, let's go back to marketing, go down to marketing tools. So then we have Meta and Pixel ads. That's going to be like your Facebook pixel, or Meta Pixel as they're calling it now. It's just a little tracking thing you can put on here. And when you're running Facebook ads, it just ties things together a little bit more. So you can see who clicked on what ad and what they did on different parts of your website, and who actually, like which ads were better at converting traffic and getting buyers. Like it's really a powerful thing. It's really easy to do as well. Just copy and paste it in here. But if you're running ads on Instagram or Meta, Facebook really, then you'll actually be able to just, use that right here. Then we have contacts. That's not going to be a huge one right now because this is like your subscribers, your leads, customers, everybody else. All your contacts will be right in here. I don't personally feel the need to really go in there much, but depending on your style of website, you might want that. And then of course we have analytics. This one is incredibly powerful. I showed you a page just a couple minutes ago that did use this, and so search keywords right there, you will be connecting Google Search Console to this. It's going to be connected to your Google account, so I'm not going to do it right now, but that's how you can essentially tell Google, hey, this is my domain. Let me know when it shows up in search. Let me know what people were searching for when it showed up, and let me know where I ranked in every search. So if I just search for website developers near me, like you might not see my website right away, but it might be like the 50th or the 70th or the 80th one on there. And so even if the actual person doesn't see it, Google's going to tell you, hey, in this search, you came up number 80. And the next one, maybe you're 65 and maybe you're 50. And you can kind of improve your rankings and see what's working, what blog posts in particular are really working, and where you can actually improve and help your rankings on Google. So Google Search Console, super powerful tool. It's also free to use. You just have to set that up, and then you can actually port all of that data into here, and it'll show you some nice analytics within the Squarespace dashboard. Or, as I said before, you can just see all of that in Google Search Console as well. The other tabs you will be getting just from your website here. So Squarespace knows the geography of the visitors, the traffic sources, you'll also know that, and the traffic amount, the visitors, the bounce rate, which is like when people, how many people just leave right away, the unique visitors, so how many people actually come back versus how many people are like unique visitors, and of course the total number of page views. So if they're going through a lot of different pages, that would be pretty beneficial as well. Okay, so that's those three tabs there. I wanted to talk about selling, but let's just do one quick thing here. Let's publish our website. Hopefully you didn't drop off on this video before doing this, or hopefully you saw this already and published your website. If we just click on publish our website, it is going to publish to this domain that we already bought. We already have that set up. So I will say publish the website. Pretty easy to do. And now our website is ready to go. So now let's go into selling. Not everybody's going to be selling, especially a personal portfolio or that doesn't really make sense for this, right? Like for this style of website that I've been using as an example, really scheduling makes a lot more sense, but I'm just gonna show this anyway. Let's just pretend that maybe I'm selling like merchandise or phone cases or whatever. I'm gonna sell something on here just to kind of show you how this process actually works. Fortunately, Squarespace gives us a list. 3 of these should already be done for you, being subscription. We already have a plan. We already published our website. Payments should already be set up for you. I didn't actually follow through with that because, like I said, this is a tutorial, so I'm not actually selling anything. I didn't want people to accidentally place real orders on this website, and then I have money involved. So you should already have that set up, but I canceled that when I showed you earlier on. Then we have products. Now, this is the one that we should be adding right now. You can see that on the left side as well. Just in case this isn't appearing for you, we can click on products on the left side, and we can add a physical product. That's the first thing you could do. Or you can also have services. You can have downloads, so digital products, whether that is a song or an ebook or a digital art, maybe it's wallpapers for your phone or something like that. You can have all of that over in digital products or in downloads. So downloads make sense for like a phone background, for example. Digital products gets a little bit different, like video on demand. So if you have a video that people can pay to watch, but maybe you don't want them downloading it necessarily, then you can have digital products right here. This is something that a lot of e-commerce sites out there, I don't see them offering this wide spectrum in such an easy layout as Squarespace does. So selling on Squarespace definitely has come a long way. Props to Squarespace. I'm happy with how this works. Member site, of course, remember before when I said you could have like a weekly course or something? Maybe that would be a subscription. Another way to do that would just be to have a member site so people can pay and just get access to this member site. And maybe that has extra content on there. Maybe it has like, I don't know, whatever's on there. It could be something that there's plenty, like Patreon type stuff, whatever a member site would actually be. And then of course we have a course, and this is like pretty self-explanatory, but it's cool that you can host courses on Squarespace. Actually, another thing you can host that I didn't talk about is an RSS feed. So if you ever want to host a podcast, you can do that within Squarespace. It's also included, like it's not like a paid thing or anything, but you're able to do that. I could talk about that later, but kind of looking at this, let's say we're gonna have a physical product. Let's add a physical product. Add physical product, and let's just say our physical product, let's say we're selling like iPhone cases or something. I don't know. I'm just gonna say iPhone case. We'll say iPhone 14 Pro case. And we'll say next. We have unlimited stock, or you can have a set number of stocks so you can track inventory. Let's just say we have like 500 of these, and the price for them, let's just say it is $24.99. $24.99. We can add more details. So apply whatever our little description is there. We have images down here. We have a price. We can add a sale. So maybe on sale, it's going to be like $18.99. $18.99. We can have a SKU right there, which we already do. We have variants. So if you want to have different colors, which we totally do, we could say white, navy, and we can add an option as well. And this one could be size. So it could be, there we go. So we've got our different variations, our little permutation of different colors and sizes. And you can see all of these. If you click on that, they all have the same price right now. They all have the same quantity. They all have the same image right now. But you can add images for individual ones. A ton of work, but for clothing, that would be a great thing to do. Even for this, I think you should definitely be showing different colors for the different cases. So I would recommend doing that as well. We also have fulfillment. So you want to set up your fulfillment profiles. This is going to be your shipping. So if we click on set up fulfillment profiles, actually let's do that in a minute. We're going to do that a little bit later. I want to make sure we save this first. Visibility, this can be a featured product. Yeah, we're definitely featuring this one. And the SEO down here, the description is automatic. That looks pretty good. That looks fine for me. Actually, let's call this iPhone 14 case. And then our description here. And now we can save this. Let's go and say save. I'm not going to publish it just yet. We're going to say save though. So if we go to, let's go to discounts real quick though. I want to add a discount here. So we can click on the plus icon. And remember I said save 10%. And discount code could be save 10. Remember that was on our like little announcement, our banner. And so percentage, this could be 10%, 10% off. Applies to any order, unlimited uses. These are all locked down here. You have to get a higher plan to actually get those. But let's save that. So now somebody can say save 10 and they'll be saving 10% on the order when they actually go to checkout. If we go to project management, I'm not actually gonna do too much with this right now. Selling tools, there's some, again, there's so much stuff on Squarespace. I could make like a 6-hour video just talking about all these different tools, product reviews and product status and wait lists and things like that. But let's go back. Maybe I'll touch on a couple of these in a minute, but let's go back to products. And we want to set up our fulfillment. So if I click on this product, we're going to edit this product. Let's go down to fulfillment. We'll say set up fulfillment profiles. We're going to leave the editor. We already saved it. That's okay. And from here, we can set up our fulfillment. So we can set up as shipping or set up as pickup. If you're like a local art shop, maybe pickup makes sense. If you're food, maybe pickup makes sense if you're setting up food in this way. But set up shipping is probably what most people will end up doing. So we can set this up. I'm going to say add shipping option. I'm just going to go with the flat rate just to make things easier. We're going to say US domestic. And per order fee is just going to be $5.99 shipping. We're going to say per item fee is going to be $3.99 shipping. Whatever. I'll eat any other cost that's more than that. Shipping zones, we do have to go and choose that. So this is going to be United States, United States, United States. Save that. And now we go. So now we have flat rate of $3.99. Save. And we have our shipping profile ready to go. So If you want to have specific instructions for different stuff, you can go and set up fulfillment profiles. I'm not going to do that for different products right now, but let's go back to where we were with the selling tools. There are like obviously so many on here. If you want to sell things on Facebook or on Instagram or on TikTok, you can have your own stores embedded within them. So an Instagram store, for example, you can set up right here and integrate. So you just link up, you connect to your Facebook or your Instagram, and that'll allow you to set up. There's actually full blogs on how to do that. I'm not going to tie this into an Instagram right now because this is not meant to be a tutorial focused on like the ins and outs of selling on Squarespace. I can make more content about running ads and integrating with Facebook in the future if you want. But let's go back to selling tools and kind of talk about some of the other ones. Google Shopping is another big one, especially if you're running ads on Google. You probably will also want to have shopping. But if you're selling something on Google, like if I just go to, let's go to Google, and from here, let's just say like white shoes. If you look up white shoes, you'll see at the top, their shopping is the first thing they recommend. And within here, a lot of items are listed on Google Shopping so people can buy through Google. Now, that's something that obviously it costs you like nothing to add that, and it's going to be a huge value improvement on your website to just access a much larger audience. We also have point of sale. So if you're ever selling things in person, whether you're at a market, maybe like picture like the Etsy seller who makes stickers or little like crafts or jewelry, and sometimes you sell online and sometimes you sell at a market. Well, selling at a market, that would be point of sale. You want to still track that with your inventory online, and so collecting payments in person with Square, using this or the Squarespace app, kind of tying those two together, allows you to track the inventory, accept credit card payments, and still sell things in person in a very professional way, actually. Like they'll be getting a text or an email with the receipt. It's pretty incredible what you're able to do without having to buy like a big credit card processing machine these days. You can also have wait lists if you have like new products coming soon. If you're doing like maybe a Kickstarter kind of launch, you could have a wait list for that as well. You could have project status, pretty similar to that as well. We have product reviews, and of course, probably the biggest one is related products. So let's click on related products. You can set up, I actually have to upgrade for this, so I'm not going to do that. One of the more expensive plans that are geared towards selling would be better for this one. It would actually include it, hopefully. And but setting up related products is, let's close out of that, is a great way to kind of remarket or upsell some different things. So if somebody's looking at like one pair of shoes on your website, you could say, hey, you might also be interested in like these custom shoelaces or these socks or maybe another similar pair of shoes. And so that's a good way to get people to buy multiple things on your website without them having to go and discover everything individually. That is a quick crash course of how to sell. Let's go back to our homepage on Squarespace. And by now, like you guys, thanks for sticking along in this video so far. I'm sure by now you are really basically an expert in Squarespace and you know a lot more than the majority of Squarespace users out there, honestly. But let's go down here and talk a little bit more about these settings. This is probably the last main segment, but there's some really important things in here. So I want to go through these and kind of touch on which ones you want to adjust right now and which ones maybe you don't need to worry too much about. So domains, we already have our domain set up, which is great. You can have multiple domains if you ever wanted to. Google Workspace, that is going to be your email. So if you want to have a custom email, you can set that up through Squarespace, or you can set that up directly through Google Workspaces. But because your domain is through Squarespace, it's easier to just go through here. So what am I talking about? Like if you want to be Mike's custom websites at gmail.com, that's really unprofessional. And if I ever got an email from that, I kind of discount. I'd say, all right, well, maybe you're a startup, maybe you're a brand new company, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to sound professional, if you want to sound like, hey, I'm the one for the job, I've done so many different things before, like if you're quoting or dealing with any customers, or, if you're, for that matter, it could be manufacturers, whatever, any aspect of business, having a professional email like mike@squarespace.com or mike at customwebsites.com, whatever. If you want to have a good, proper email, you can set that up right here. And it's only a couple dollars per month per user, not too expensive. And I think you get a lot of benefit out of that. So I'm going to close out of that, go back to settings. That's something you should absolutely be doing after this video. Site availability, make sure that is set to public. Otherwise, people won't be able to visit your website. Permissions is basically if you have anybody else, if you have an author on your website, if you have like somebody else contributing, your editor, whatever, you can add different people and you can choose what they're able to do on your website, different permissions. Language and region, not worried about that. We don't have a member site right now, so I'm not worried about that. browser icon though, this is a big one, your favicon. This is what I said before we would be using the logo for. No matter what, you definitely want to have your logo up here. So I'm going to add the favicon. They have to be really tiny, like 0.1 megabytes. So I don't know if I have one that is that small, but let's see if we can find a picture, see if our logo works there. Let's try this. Our favicon logo looks like it was small enough. It is working. It's 500 by 500, so I assume that's a small enough logo. There we go, ready to go. And make sure you save that. That's a big one. You want to have that on there. So otherwise, you'd be stuck with this little gray cube on the top. Again, looks weird. Everybody knows you have a Squarespace website, and it just seems like kind of tacky. Like it shouldn't be there. You want to have your logo on the top of everybody's browser so they know what they're actually on. Social links, we did already customize these before, so just double check that you don't have any that link to Squarespace. Obviously, that would be a big blunder. Social sharing, you can have a social icon there that, like if you have a good image that if somebody shares a link to your website, you don't want it to be like some random wrong picture from your website. You want to have like a picture of you or a picture of your company or a picture of your logo at least, that people, when they share it on like Instagram, Facebook, whatever, if they put the link in there, it'll automatically show this image here. That's your social sharing image. Pinterest save buttons, I'm not worried about that. I'm not dealing a whole lot with Pinterest. Mobile information bar, cookies, visitor data, import, export. None of this stuff I really need to focus on too much. Of course, we have blog preferences, site promotion, developer tools. This is all stuff that your developer would know if you needed this, and they'll tell you. But if you need anything, like this is where you'll find it. It's over here, SSL, for example. Do make sure that's active. That's one you want to check out. That's the little lock icon on the top, basically telling the world that it is encrypted, that your website's safe and people can visit that without worrying. Not without worrying, but they have more peace of mind. If you don't have SSL, if you deactivate that, then it'll give a little warning on the top whenever somebody visits your website and say, this is not a secure website. Obviously not a good look. Squarespace has this on by default, but just make sure you never turn that off. And then we have some e-commerce stuff down there. I pretty much already talked about a lot of that. Taxes, you will want to go and set that up if you're going to be charging sales tax. I don't know where you are if you have sales tax, but if you do, you can set that up right there. We already talked about shipping, cart and checkout. There's not a whole lot I want to talk about here, but you can kind of customize your checkout experience. Squarespace by default does such a good job with this that I usually don't even change anything on this. But if we click on checkout, it'll show us what the checkout is. It's loading for a little bit longer than I would like, so whatever. I'm going to close out of that. But that's essentially my summary, everything that I think you need to know to get started with Squarespace. Thanks for watching the video this long. Like, really props to you guys. Congratulations. This was a long one, and you did a good job powering through. I hope you found it helpful. I wish you the best of luck with your website. And I'm really excited to see your websites out there. Hopefully I'll come across your website someday if I'm booking something or if I'm buying something or just learning about whatever your website is. I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, I'm Mike O'Brien with Santrel Media, and I'll see you someday in another tutorial.